Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. I've just been out to an art gallery in Durham. It's called Cece's. I just stepped outside and I see Mr. Chester here. Hey buddy, you're very sweet. I think it's pronounced Cece's and not Cece's. And oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. I bought the incense there, and I also bought a new pair of earrings, and they're in the house. I already had on some favorites today, so I didn't change, but I'll show you the earrings when I wear them. It is a huge mess out here right now because I have a lot of stuff. I've had a lot of stuff pulled out lately, and what I wanted to do out here today is do more organizing. I still have a lot more organizing that I want to do out here as far as getting my supplies ready for journal making and that kind of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to check in, and I will see you at the art desk. I'm going to work in my everyday journal for a little bit, and I thought I would just turn the camera on. I've got some of my favorite things. Of course, my big journal that I'm working in. And when we left off last time, I had some pages here in the back that needed some color. This journal ended up being not quite as full as I thought it was to start with, and that is okay. I did do a little bit on this page and this page, and some of my other favorite things are the Posca markers. I love Sharpies. This is a very nice ink pen that my friend Jay sent to me. Tri-blend Spectrum Noir is what it says. It's an orange blend. We've got a fine tip on this end. Well, they're both fine. Wait, is it two different? Oh, light and dark. That's what this one was. I pulled this one out because I love the ink in this, and I haven't used it for a while, but it is one of my favorites, and I wouldn't mind buying more of these. And then we have these wonderful Stabilo Woody 3-in-1s that I recently discovered when going through a box of things at Scrap Exchange. So I really love these. A lot of people left comments about these and how they can be activated with water. That's probably not the best paper, but I'm sure you can probably see how that kind of just spread out like that. I love to use what I call what the universe sends to me. And this is a picture. This was in some ephemera that I bought. And I don't know, it looks like a picture of a drawing. I don't know who did it. There's no name on it. It almost looks like an old-fashioned, well, what they used to call, well, it doesn't really look like Xerox because it doesn't have that blue look to it. But it just looks like an old-fashioned copy off of a copy machine. See, it almost looks like you can see more book pages over here. So I'm just going to cut the actual face out. And this is one of the things that when I saw it, I said, well, I want to put that in my actual journal, and we're going to have to cut it down some because it's too big for the journal. But it might go right here. I recently had a comment asking if I would explain how I got into junk journaling, and I have always loved collections of things like little miniatures or Barbies. Oh my goodness, anything I got into, I just liked collecting and arranging. And I had a large bulletin board in my room as a teenager that was basically just a massive collage. I kept pinning things to it, and it turned into one of my favorite things. In fact, during times where, you know, we all go through it, like ups and downs of high school, sometimes I would just stand and look at that bulletin board, and it made me happy. And I've always loved to read and write. Always loved reading, and I've always enjoyed keeping a diary or a journal. Well, when I was 20, I really started writing. I started keeping a daily journal, and at that point in my life, I was really into a lot of list making, to be honest, because I was so busy. I paid my way through a private college. I worked full-time and went to school, and I was involved in a lot of things, but it evolved into a true journal. I wrote every day, copious amounts of things about my life. And then once I got married and started having children, I wrote about everything they did, about the pregnancies, the births, funny things they would say. And I have all of those still. I have all of those in my shelf inside in the art closet, where we have a lot of my art journals on display. And I'm so grateful to have that. But in about, oh my goodness, I guess it was about 2009, maybe, somewhere around there, I was in a very dark place in life. I left an abusive home situation, an abusive marriage, and the marriage lasted 23 years. And because of my faith and my vows and just wanting to not give up on something, I stayed for a long time. And somebody asked me, well, I've been asked many times, people will ask you this if you leave a situation like that, why did you stay so long? Well, my little analogy or whatever is like, well, if you planted 2 plants in the same pot and let them grow for a while, they're not going to come apart without some trauma. The roots have intertwined, and it's just not going to be easy. And it's not. We had a house together. We had 4 children together. There had been medical issues. We had bills together. I had a 23-year-old garden that I absolutely loved. He had his hobbies, and you build a home around these things that you do, and it turns into something that's hard to leave. But in that, I would say around 2009, I walked into Barnes & Noble, and I saw a lot of the Stampington magazines on the magazine rack. And honestly, it was an instant falling in love with the things I saw in those magazines. And I had already started to expand my journals, which had been just paper and words. I would say probably in 2008, I had started adding pictures and drawings to my journals. So I had started art journaling, but I didn't really know it had a name. And I continued on with that. And then once I saw the Stampington magazines, I think I bought about 4 at one time, which was kind of pricey, but I was in such a dark spot. I thought, I have to have art in my life. I have to find a way to be creative and deal with some of these things that I'm going through, or I will die. And I was also getting physically sick. I feel better now, even though I still have some physical things that I have to deal with, like an autoimmune disease and that kind of thing. It helped me so much, that process of creating an art space and starting to make pieces of art, whether it was little clay rabbits or jewelry or just whatever. I think I'm going to turn this the other way so the picture in the hand is right side up. These are just some little images that were in magazine pages that I want to keep up with. So let's see, where are we? Starting to make art, continuing to journal, basically making art journals without knowing that's what I was doing. And I've always also loved reuse. My daughter and I, she's my youngest child, we had been making doll houses out of cardboard boxes. And I can trace that all the way back to like 5th grade with my best friend who lived up the street. We would get together and make things for our Barbie dolls. So the lids to old toothpaste tubes would become, glasses for Barbie to drink out of. And we would pick up pebbles outside and glue them onto cardboard to make a fireplace for the Barbie house. I've always loved things like that. Eventually, I would say in about 2000 and it must have been about 2018 when I came across junk journaling. And I just fell right into it because it felt natural. It felt like it went along with things that already interested me. I was already I mean, I'm not afraid of dumpster diving. I wasn't doing active dumpster diving, but we had a wonderful place in the county that I lived in where you could, there was like a free shelf for magazines. You could leave magazines for other people. You could take from the magazines a lot of really beautiful bottles. And then there was another recycle place where everything was sorted even more specifically down into categories. And they had these two buildings, basically these covered like little sheds that you could go into. And if people were bringing something that was still very useful, they would put it in that shed and you could basically shop from that. So I was already doing things like that and making art for my garden and mosaic stepping stones. So I want to say that it was trying to think of the year it would have been. Maybe 2017. I don't know the exact year when I really fell into junk journaling, but I have loved it ever since. And if you fall into that rabbit hole and you really, really love it and you love creating, a lot of people just naturally want to share what they're doing with the community of people who are doing the same thing. And that's sort of what I ended up doing. And I've always loved having a little shop. I've had a retail store in the past where I sold handmade items and vintage clothing that I collected. And when my oldest son was young, before I took a job, I was keeping children and also going to the big farmers market in Raleigh to sell every weekend. I would just take Daniel with me. So it just seems like it all kind of segued like this into this and this into this, and it all kind of fits together too. So I've been making junk journals at least 7 years. It's been a long time. I was carrying a massive journal when Jason and I first met, and we've been together, it'll be 12 years in February, and it was just an art notebook that I had bought, and then I proceeded to just pack it full of every little thing from everywhere we went, postcards, and I also sketched in it and wrote in it. So I think it's been a long time, but that's how I fell into it. And I will say two of the people that I saw first online that I used to love to watch, and I still watch them, Jessica from Paper Terrace and April from Pink Oddbird. And since then, of course, I've come across so many channels. A lot of us have become friends. You know, you just meet people online, and if you're true to yourself, you will find your tribe. You will find the people who are doing what you like to do, and it doesn't mean you can't enjoy and respect all the other channels, but it's really fun when you find people who feel like they really love the same things that you love. So right now, what this is, I was making these background pages when I was at the beach, and my grandsons, well, my granddaughter, my youngest grandson, mostly the two youngest, really enjoy sitting and making art. So they were helping a little bit, and we would draw little shapes on the already painted paper and then just cut these out to make, it's kind of like journal fodder or collage candy or whatever you want to call it. It looks like candy to me. It's kind of like collage candy is a fun name. I don't really know what to call it, but let's see. Do I have something yellow? I don't know where my yellow Posca is. Some of them are inside. Well, that's okay. That's a little bit. Oh, I had an orange. That's not bad. So maybe I will cut some of these things out. And this is kind of what the universe sends, because it was a group effort at the beach. It sent this little bit of art our way as I was sitting there with the grandchildren. And these are just so much fun to cut out and then glue into the journals. So we've got two pretty hearts to glue in. And then let's cut out some stars. We will end up with some bigger pieces that we can just tear, but it's also a lot of fun to cut your shapes out. And you can cut, you don't have to cut right on the lines. You can cut far enough away that you end up with some of that really pretty color, which, I mean, that's just, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I know I mentioned a while back that I was going to do a market, and I didn't do it. I think I shared why. It ended up being mostly food, and it was right in the middle of this blistering hot summer that we have had. So Jason and I, we went and looked at the market, and that particular market is not off the list, but in the meantime, I have found another market that I really want to do. So I'm trying to get my mind like in that mindset and get things ready to take. And I need to get a table. I need a new tent. My tent that I used to use at the markets, which I did some markets too when Jason and I first met. That tent it's gone. It's had it. It finally just tore all to pieces. So let's tear that part out. There's that. It's just a fun shape. We could write a quote or something on that. Okay, let's bring this back over. And one of the reasons I have this paper here, this is some paper that's been on the art desk. So it's got some dirty paint water on it. It's got the dregs from a bottle of paint that had sparkles in it. It's got some Mod Podge. So I thought it would be fun, instead of painting some of these pages and having to wait for them to dry, I could just glue some of this paper on here, which adds, even more texture. It makes the page a little more sturdy. Of course, it makes the journal thicker too, so it's just a trade-off. You kind of have to figure out what you have room for and what you want. See, there's one of the little birds from the beach. glue this down. Maybe we can put a quote on there. Oh, that's pretty there with all that glitter in the background. And I love this. I came across that on a page of quotes that was in some ephemera. It says, "Great Spirit, help me never to judge another until I have walked in his moccasins for 2 weeks. Sioux Indian prayer." And that's sort of a familiar sentiment, no matter what your background is. Let's put that there. This is so relaxing to me, to just journal like this and write things down. I also love to sit down, and I don't often show this part because it can be personal, but writing down what happens during the day. Like, you know, Jason and I went to this place or that place, and, you know, this is what we had to eat, or if I'm concerned about something, or if I've had some sort of success or failure or whatever it is, just to write about it. This is on, this was torn from a coloring book that my friend Jay sent, and removed the pages so that I could use those. And I definitely wanted to cut out these images and put them in here. So pretty. And that's really pretty too. We definitely need a quote next to her. That right there. Put some color around the edge. Let's see this. Oh yeah, I can see a little layer of the Mod Podge that was on that paper. You can see where it's wrinkling up a little bit. Oh, look how pretty that is. So that is the Stabilo Woody 3-in-1, which I had never tried, and came across some at the scrap exchange, and a great big bin of crayons. So I feel really fortunate to get those. Wow, look how beautiful that is. Still a little bit wet in that one spot, so we'll just pick it up like that. All right, let's see. There is... glue this down. Oh, I found one. I have a lot of quotes that I want to put in here. Maybe I need something a little, this is where this is nice. Something with sort of a fine point. A good thing to remember. Okay, a good thing to remember and a better thing to do to work with the construction gang and not the wrecking crew. That can be applied to so many things, including the words we speak, our attitude towards things, the way we live every day. Maybe I will stop soon, but I think it's always nice maybe to practice a little, to draw a little face maybe. I have no idea how the paint is going to work on here because this is the back of a piece of scrapbook paper. I think it's good to practice though, even if you're just like practicing on scrap paper, or if it ends up being something where you say, oh my goodness, I don't like that. Don't stop practicing and drawing your little faces. We'll be drying the page, don't worry. And it'll make it nice and crinkly, and it's just going to be amazing. Maybe for the dress, this blue is beautiful. And I had a little bit of orange in the brush, I think, so you can see how it's changing that color a little bit. don't want to get it all over her face. A little bit is okay. Oh, hello. And then I'm wondering, give her some really light blue eyes. She looks happy. I really like her. And, that's an old Stampin' Up stamp. Okay, the page is sort of nice and crinkly. It's almost completely dry. Let's paint these beads that she's wearing. We'll make them bright pink. And then do I have, sure I have some metallic markers. Didn't make a huge difference. There, that's a little better. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back really soon, and bye for now.